welcome back to another episode of our CMO Peer Talks podcast. My name is Raquel. I run our customer success department here at Promo Republic, but I'm also the host of our CMO Peer Talks community. We do a lot of fun events such as this one where we're hosting a lot of CMOs from around the industry and marketers where we're learning about how they're navigating 2023 in the franchise space. So with me today, I have Doug Hall. You're the Director of Marketing from Propelled Brands, specifically with Fast Signs.
That's right.
So welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. We are too. So we talked a little bit earlier about how 2023 is what some are dubbing that year of change. We started off with some talks about recession, and now we're seeing the market shift a little bit. I would love it if you could start with kind of a general ease-in question, if you will, about how you planned your 2023 strategy and if anything changed since the year has started, basically.
Sure. So we spent the end of 2022 from a digital media perspective doing some testing and looking at some different channels.
Yeah.
So now we're really going into 2023 with some specific channel strategy that we want to do. But then we're also really focused on ROI and what our franchisees are spending and how much they're spending and what they're getting on that return, and then really digging into our first party data.
Okay, that makes sense. And I think those are two really important things to kind of peel back and discuss, because franchisees, they look to the head office and they're like, leads, I need leads. What are you going to do to give me more leads? So can you talk us through a little bit about, or we can start with leads, and how are you measuring ROI? What have you told them to look at? What are you looking at? How does that process start from you?
Sure. So from the marketing department at Fast Signs, we're really focused on two things. One, we want to drive awareness of the franchisee center. That's first and foremost. And then driving as many profitable leads as we can to their center. And that's done through both organic and paid lead activity. Right. Paid lead activity is the most important in terms of their interest, because they're investing their dollars behind that. So we want to make sure we can demonstrate value and what the return is on that. So what we've done is we've taken the paid lead activity and working with our digital marketing agency, and we've connected the estimates that our customers have when they come in, and we're able to see the true value as to what that lead was and what it brought in. So we're able to go back and look on a monthly basis, franchisee spent X, this was their return, and it really gives them confidence in spending in the market. And we're also able to tweak and to adjust their campaigns based on the activity we're seeing and the return that we're seeing.
Yeah, I think that is what a lot of franchisors strive for, in the connection. Because with digital, there's so much that I like to say is maybe a little ambiguous, where you know you have to do it.
That's right.
But do the franchisees feel that they're getting the value from it? Or even at the head office, sometimes they're like, okay, we know we have to do it. Are we getting the value? So how did you get there? How did you connect the dots between getting a lead and measuring the ROI?
Right, so first it was having a great vendor partner with our digital marketing agency, and then our internal IT department, we're able to work, we've developed these great looker dashboards where we're able to connect those two things through an integration standpoint. So the lead data comes in, we understand if it's paid or if it's organic, and then we have the dates and the source in terms of how they reached us, and then we're able to match that with our internal data and understand when the estimate was generated, how long it took the estimate to get created, and what the value it was when the job was closed. So then we can connect those two things. It also gives us insights on all of the leads that come in that may not convert to an estimate. So we've got all of this other activity. What went wrong there, and how can we improve on that conversion rate so that all leads are getting an estimate and getting an opportunity to convert to a job?
Yeah, I think that is, you said one of my favorite things, which is automation and Looker. So for those that may not be familiar, it is like your data heaven. You can anything you want. You can set your own parameters. You can drill it down. Can you talk a little bit about that automation standpoint? How did you know that you needed a partner for data specifically?
Yeah, so we were capturing this data. We wanted to make sure that it was accurate. We have done some work with a third-party data to actually clean up some of the information so that we are really clear on the industries and who our customers are, and we're able to rank those. So our first-party data has been very important in terms of understanding who they are, when they're purchasing, so that we can get out in front of that purchase cycle and that activity. So understanding who they are and where they're coming from, it allows us to adjust and focus the campaigns on those key industries.
Yeah. I think that's really great. And how do you involve the franchisees in this? Because as we highlighted before, the franchisees, they want leads and they want them now. How do you share any data, or is there anything that you're doing to make them aware of what the results are?
Yeah, we want to get them as involved as possible. So we like to show them the network activity and what's happening across all of our 700 plus locations.
Right.
But then we can also drill down that data and look at what's going on in their state,
Right.
and then specifically to their region.
Oh,
so then they can look at
fantastic,
the data and understand, okay, healthcare is really important for me, and it's my number one industry, and it's the number one within the network.
Yeah.
Whereas they may look at it and see construction is number two, and construction may not even be in their top 10. Well, now we've identified an opportunity that they need to go focus on some of the construction prospects and opportunities in their area, because it's a successful industry for us as a network.
Yeah, that's a really good point, the benchmarking and seeing what's around you. And I think that transparency that you're providing them is unique, because we know that there's so much data that we're collecting, as you said, your first party, third party, there's just infinite sources of data, quite frankly. And the fact that they can see themselves and measure that, it almost drives them further, because I see that someone over there is doing a little bit better than me, I want to beat them.
Yes.
And this is how I can do it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Would you say that there anything, any tests, I know you said you tested in 2022 and started to implement, were there any tests that, I don't want to say failed, because that's not like a good word, but any tests that you thought would be implemented in 2023 that you did actually leave behind in 2022?
Well, how about I answer it this way? There was one that we didn't get to, and that's LinkedIn.
Okay.
And we really feel like now, with our knowledge from our first party data and really understanding the industries, we can get even more focused on LinkedIn and targeting with titles and with industries to make sure we're targeting the right person. So that's on our docket for 2023, is how we can maximize LinkedIn.
That's really interesting. I think that is really a good time, because we know LinkedIn activity is always there, and especially when we're at IFA, you see everyone's on LinkedIn at every moment. So these are opportunities, for us to network, to give a real life example for today, but for your franchisees to maybe go into the world with the data. And I think that's where you and the entire Propel team is at an advantage, where you understand your data and now you're able to make actionable business decisions based on that.
Yeah. That's the key word, actionable decisions, because we want to, the most important thing when we're sitting down with a franchisee is that we're not guessing. And when we can show them the data, we're standing there, with the data in our back pocket and with the confidence to say, this is what we need to do, this is the direction we need to go in. And the franchisee then feels good about investing those dollars. So like, okay, we've done the research, we understand who they are, all right, now let's go to it, instead of crossing your fingers and saying, let's hope this works for us.
Exactly, which I know we talked a little bit about what can be ambiguous, and so the fact that they can actually see something tangible and feel the results is fantastic.
Yes.
How did you start this process of sharing this? Because we know franchisees buy into the brand because they want to do what you do. They didn't buy in, I'm going to actually be a marketer and I'm going to focus all of my energy on marketing the business. But we know that a franchisee does wear multiple hats when they're doing this. So how did you make it a little bit easier, I would say, for them to become these marketers for their own business?
Well, really, the easy part came with the success, right? And case studies and success stories within the network, and them seeing it work for their franchisees. And when they see their peers having success, and when there's positive results, then they get interested. They're like, okay, well, what's going on over here? I want to be a part of that. Help me understand how I can learn that. And then it just starts to snowball, and we have all of this positive activity and positive communication throughout the network about the great things that your data is doing, and looking at it, understanding who your customers are, making sure you're having that conversation with your marketing manager. And that's really what's helped us be successful with it.
Yeah, I think that's really underutilized. In Promo Republic, for example, a case study, we want to share the success of anyone from the rooftops.
Right.
So the fact that you're doing that internally and showing this is a example A of someone that's doing really well utilizing all these tools, you need the success, right? Because that's what they signed up for. Yeah.
And we found that it's much more successful when their peers are talking to them versus someone from corporate or talking to them about, hey, this is what we've seen. But when they're up there talking about it, how it's influenced their business and their bottom line and how they've been successful with it, there's much more connectivity, with that.
Yeah, I think that's another great point as well. It's like the point of view, like who is speaking and who's sharing the data and the success, because as franchisors or as vendor partners, we can tell you that something works, but if you want to hear it from someone actually doing it.
That's right, yes.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, you shared a lot of really important, I think, information today, because I think it's one of the harder things to wrap minds around in terms of the data, how to analyze that. And some people think, okay, I don't even know where to start. And you really laid out a path of how they do that. You sit down with a vendor partner if you have one, or a tool that you're using, and start combing over and seeing what metrics matter to you and working from there.
Right.
So I think that was really interesting. And you also highlighted how you coupled the data with ROI, which is really important for franchisees to move forward. Do you have any final words of wisdom for any future CMOs out there that are just starting their journey? And because I think these are, quite frankly, two of the more challenging aspects of the marketing role.
I think, don't let the data overwhelm you and don't let it intimidate you. Start at the very highest level and then start to work your way down to get more insights and more specific to the individual franchisees, and it'll pay off.
I think that was really well said.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for joining today. Again, we have Doug Hall from Propelled Brands, and stay tuned for our next episode of CMO Peer Talks.
Great.
Bye.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you.